let's get to work. So the past questions will be touching down from May 2025 down to 2014, as much as we can cover in this class. This is the only class we have for the past question. And don't mind me, I've not added some of the questions I wanted to add for chapter 7. So you've not gotten the past questions. A lot of people have reached out to me personally. Where is chapter 7? Where is chapter 7? I said, sorry, I've not compiled, because I want you to have a plethora of questions from May 2025 down to 2014. I don't want to give you something that is not that voluminous. I want you to have everything down to 2014, and also for chapter 8 down to 2014 for you to cover, so that you practice a lot. You can't practice enough questions. You can't practice too much. So the more, the better. Yeah, it widens your horizon, broadens your mind, gives you a lot of expectations on where to expect and where is examinable. So it's good I give you that 22 diets that tests each chapter. So in view of that, you'll be getting your chapter 7 past questions and 8 very shortly. So pardon me for the belated response on that. Okay, so we are currently on chapter 8, and we're looking at question 1C on November 2024. And mind you, he did not test anything on audit evidence in May 2025. So there was no concept, there was no topic, there was no unit, there were no sessions on May 2025 that tested audit evidence. So that's why you're not seeing audit evidence on the screen. So he tested audit evidence in question 1C, Chadaba and Co. Limited. So please, somebody confirm you can see my screen, so I don't assume I'm not sharing my screen. Confirm you can see my screen, please.
We can see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that feedback. All right. So the question reads, question 1 speaks to you are the manager, or you are a manager in Idachaba and Co. Chartered accountants and responsible for the audit of Prohome group of companies. The group's main activity is engineering, metal fabrication, and related businesses. The group comprises the parent company and 3 subsidiaries. Your firm currently audits all the components of the group. Work is currently ongoing on the audit of the group's financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2022. When you opened your email box this morning, you saw the following note that was left for you by the audit engagement partner. Hello. The audit senior has provided the draft consolidated financial statements with the accompanying notes, which summarize the key audit findings and some background information. At the planning stage, materiality was initially determined to be 950,000 naira and was calculated based on the assumption that Prohome Group is a high-risk client due to its listing status. Excuse me. During the audit, a number of issues, including indicators that certain management estimates may not have been properly recorded in terms of the relevant accounting standards, arose. This meant that we need to revise materiality level for the financial statements as a whole. The revised materiality level is now determined at 650,000 naira. One of the audit juniors was unsure as to why the materiality has been revised. The key audit findings in the group's consolidated financial statements are in the attached notes. Thank you. Notes. Number 1. Revenue has been stable for all the components of the group with the exception of Corpus Link Company Limited, which witnessed a 25% decrease in revenue. 2. Operating expenses figure for the year ended 30th June is showing a profit on a property disposal of 2 million. Our evidence includes agreeing the cash receipts to bank statements and sale documentation. And we have confirmed that the property has been removed from the non-current assets register. The audit junior noted when reviewing the sales document that there is an option to repurchase the property in 5 years' time, but did not discuss the matter with management. The property revaluation gain of 800,000 in the income statement relates to the revaluation of a property at the group's head office. The audit team has not obtained evidence on the revaluation as the gain was immaterial. Also, the actual losses on defined benefit plan of 1.1 million are attributed to an unexpected stock market crash. The group's pension plan Sorry, pardon me. Pardon me. I was logged out. I think it was a network glitch. Pardon me. Sorry, please confirm you can hear me. Pardon me, that was network.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you
we
are
can
back.
hear you, sir.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let me go back. Let me see where I stopped. Okay, I believe you had me from the property revaluation gain of 800,000 naira in the income statement relates to revaluation of the property at the group's head office. The audit team has not obtained evidence on the revaluation as the gain was immaterial. Number 4, also the actual losses on defined benefit plan of 1.1 million are attributed to an unexpected stock market crash. The group's pension plan is managed by Axial Company, a firm of independent fund managers who maintain necessary accounting records relating to the plan. Axial Company has supplied written representation as to the value of the defined benefit plan's assets and liabilities of June. Okay, liabilities, yes, of June. I'm so sorry. I think network has decided to keep glitching today, and I'm no longer finding it funny. All right, so I'm back. Please, can you still hear me and see my screen?
Yes, sir. Clearly.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so let me get back to number 4. And I said also the actual losses on defined benefit. Yeah, thank you, Kachi. I saw your emoji. All right. Also the actual losses on defined benefit plan for 1.51 million attributed to an unexpected stock market crash. The group's pension plan is managed by Axial Company, a firm of independent fund managers who maintain the necessary accounting records related or relating to the plan. Axial Company has supplied written representation as to the value of the defined benefit plans, assets and liabilities as of June 30th, 2022. No other audit work has been performed other than agreeing the amount reported in the financial statements to the supporting documentation supplied by Axial Company. The goodwill of 5.350 million relates to the subsidiaries in the group. Management has confirmed in writing that goodwill is stated correctly, and our other audit procedure was to arithmetically check the impairment review conducted by management. There is an investment in associated company of 4.230 million, which is a 30% holding in Family Company Limited purchased to provide investment income. The audit team has not obtained evidence regarding the associate, as there is no account recognized in the statement of financial position as at the year end. Number 7, the non-current assets held for sale of 7.8 million in the draft FS relates to trading division of one of the subsidiaries, which represent 1/3 of that subsidiary's net assets. The sale of the division was announced in May 2022 and is expected to be completed by December 2022. Audit evidence obtained includes a review of the sales agreement and confirmation from the buyer obtained in July 2022, which indicated that the sale will take place. Number 8, 2 of the group subsidiaries are owned partly by shareholders outside of the group. Number 9, a loan of 8 million was obtained in October 2021 at an interest rate of 20% payable annually in arrears. The terms of the loan has been confirmed to the documentation provided by the bank. There was no repayment of the loan in the books as at the year end required. Justify the reasons for the review of ISA 540 auditing accounting estimates, including fair value accounting estimates and related disclosures. Demonstrate how with its proper application during the audit team can let me go over that again. Demonstrate how with its proper application during the audit team can obtain sufficient appropriate audit on management's processes and accounting for estimates. 9 marks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a 9-mark audit evidence question before us, and it's a detailed question focused on materiality, but we've looked at the materiality aspect in the last class. So we're looking at the audit evidence aspect in this class. And it's a detailed question actually focused on a critical high-risk area of audit, which is accounting estimates and the ISA 540. This ISA is a high risk area, and is a core standard that is tested because the question is a direct test of the candidates or of candidates' understanding of ISA 540 revised and its practical necessity. And you see that it moves beyond simple definition because the prompt asks us or it requires us to justify and demonstrate. So it's requiring our justification and application. And the question is about ISA 540. It provides context and reinforcing why the partner is asking about the standard. So you must actually implicitly link the need for ISA 540 to the high volume of estimates or judgments in those notes. So don't forget, part of my observation and the general comment I'll make before looking at how and what to write is the prompt. Don't forget that prompt, justify and demonstrate. These active verbs demand 2 things. Justification, like I posted in the morning on some of those prompts. Don't forget, when you are addressing question, look at those prompts, those command verbs, active verbs. Justification in this context talks about why the revision or focus on the standard is needed, the reasons, take note of that. And demonstration, how to apply it, talking about the procedures, the requirement. So your answer structure or your solution should accurately address the 2 parts of the requirement. It's a double barrel question in one question. So the first justification talks about discussing the context of earnings management and the need for greater rigor and skepticism. And demonstration and application speaks to listing the specific revised requirements. So, for example, understanding management's process, reviewing prior outcomes, evaluating estimation uncertainty, and that's how to address those prompts very critically. All right. So, having spoken to those general thoughts on the prompt, let's look at the answer and how to answer very clearly. So the first thing you should think of is what to write and how to write such an answer. So in practicing, don't forget, you need to think around what to write and how to write it. So what do we write? ISA 540's objective is, in writing, you need to start with the standards goal. The standards core goal is to ensure estimates are reasonable. Don't forget, in our classes, we said management's estimates should be reasonable and disclosures are adequate. So the reasons for review or justification of this is to focus on the external environment, talking about corporate scandals, aggressive earnings management, and the standards change to a risk-based approach, and also the need for increased professional skepticism. So what you should write around this and the application aspect on demonstration, because the examiner said we should demonstrate, you need to list the specific rigorous procedures or requirements introduced or emphasized by the revised ISA 540. And they center around understanding management's process on those estimates, reviewing the outcomes, evaluating bias, and also focusing on high estimation uncertainty. So those are generally what you should write. And how do you write it? Look at the format on the screen. You could use numbered or bullet list. Make sure you follow this format. It's a 9-mark question. So clearly use numbered or bullet list for both the justification and the demonstration points. Your terminology should be clear. Use the specific language of ISA 540 standard: estimation, uncertainty, significant risk, management bias, professional skepticism, sufficient appropriate evidence, etc., etc. So those terminologies should be included in your write-up. And how do you write? Be concise. Ensure each point is a distinct reason or a distinct application step, making it easier for the marker to award marks per point. This is very important on what you should write.
Sorry,
So
sir,
generally, there are some strategies for earning such marks. Yes, please. Yes, please.
please,
Yes,
I've
please.
been
Go
logging
ahead.
in and out. I can't see your screen. I don't know if it is from my end. Please, can you reshare your screen?
Okay, please confirm if you cannot see my screen. I've shared the screen. I don't know. If you cannot see my screen, please let me know. Maybe it's from her network.
We can see your screen.
Okay, thank you, Jay. It's like it's from your network, or maybe if you want me to share, reshare again, let me do that for your own
It's just help
benefit.
me to reshare, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay. So can you see my screen now?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, so I've unshared my screen. So let me reshare now. I hope it comes on for you specifically. All right, so I've reshared. Please confirm you can see the screen now.
No.
We can see it. We can see.
Sorry, maybe you need to restart your handle. Sometimes the handles, yeah, so everyone can see my screen except who is speaking now. I think is it Tinuke that is speaking or Flora? Who is not seeing my screen? Okay, maybe she's off the call. All right.
I can see your
I think she'll
screen,
come
sir.
back and,
All I can see your screen.
yeah. Okay, so everyone can see my screen. I believe it's just one person that is not seeing it. Okay, thank you for the feedback. She'll get back to the call. So I lost my thoughts. What was I talking about? Okay, so I was saying the solution talks about, okay, I was talking about general strategies for earning the marks. And I said, so don't worry, don't forget to interject freely, please, if you have a concern on the solution. It's quite a technical area we're looking at because these concepts are quite challenging. So please interject freely, ask your questions if you have any challenge on any of these solutions. Okay, so I was saying generally, strategies to earn your marks on such a 9-mark question. It's a crucial 9 marks if you choose this question under exam condition you want to write this particular question. You need to maximize marks because it's not really a theoretical question. It's more of an application question. So you need to address both parts. There are 2 parts in one question. So ensure you tackle the justify. So tackling justify, and justify talks about the why. And that demonstrate, he said, is the how. So missing one means forfeiting a large chunk of the 9 marks. Don't forget that. So please ensure you justify and demonstrate. So look at the question very well. He said you should justify and demonstrate. So the justify you need to tackle speaks to the why, and the demonstrate speaks to the how. And if you miss one of those 2 verbs, you are forfeiting a large chunk of the 9 marks. Don't forget to use the standards name. Always name ISA 540 early on as your conversation goes on, as you're penning down your thoughts, because it signals competence and shows you know the source of the guidance. And don't forget quantity over verbosity. Your quantity should lead to content, what you're providing. So the mark allocation per point, we'll come to that, but it's about 1.5 mark for any 4 new requirements. So focus on generating a sufficient number of distinct, correct points rather than writing long paragraphs about a single point. Then try to link your points to skepticism. Whenever a question deals with judgment, risk, or estimates, always mention the need for professional skepticism. It's actually a highly mark-enable point. Professional skepticism, very important. So you look at the solution. I'm just giving you nitty-gritties and some points on what to do. So if you look at the performance, it's average by the examiner. But then if you look at the marking key, it's the 9 marks are clearly splitted. You see 3 marks for justification and 6 marks for demonstration, talking about the new requirement. So the first part is 3 marks. Split the question into 2, though it's not splitted by the examiner, but because of the prompt, you need to split it. So the part 1 talks about reasons for review or justification, which is 3 marks. And your goal to earn the 3 marks, you need to state 3 distinct or valid reasons for the heightened focus or revision of ISA 540. And you see that the marking key alignment is clear. Marks are awarded for pointing out, number 1, the need for greater rigor and skepticism. That's the first point. Number 2, the focus on the risk of management bias and aggressive earnings management. And number 3, the transition to risk-based approach focusing on high estimation uncertainty. And number 4, the need for a clearer definition of a misstatement in this area. So the strategy around this is that write 3 concise, compelling points that explain the standards evolution in response to global challenges. This is key. And for the part 2, talking about demonstration, the new requirements for application is 6 marks. And the goal should be to earn the 6 marks. You need to state 4 distinct specific requirements or steps of ISA 540's application. And the marking key alignment, you will be awarded marks for detailing the specific audit steps required to gather evidence. So what are those steps? Let me just do a quick recap. The first one is understanding management's process. You need to, as the auditor, gain knowledge of how management identifies the need for and makes the estimates. So understanding management's process is very important. We spoke about that in the class. And also, you review prior outcomes by checking previous estimates to assess management's historical accuracy on estimates. And number 3, you need to evaluate estimation uncertainty by assessing the inherent risk and determining if it constitutes a significant risk. Number 4, you need to assess management's assumption. You do that by evaluating whether management's or management considered alternative outcomes or assumptions. And number 5, you need to review management bias. You need to check management's judgment and decisions for any pattern of bias. So the strategy is list these 4 or 5 procedures, starting each one with a strong verb like obtaining, reviewing, evaluating, to clearly demonstrate the audit team's action around this question. So these are my thoughts around how to earn these marks and how to address such a question. So please go through it, read it, practice it, write your thoughts, read it again, compare it to the answers in practicing, so it will enable you to be able to fine-tune your technique on this kind of challenging aspect of the AAA subject. Some of these questions can be very challenging. You will need to practice it over and over again to be able to harness and fine-tune your technique. So please do that, and those are my general thoughts on that question. All right, so that's November 2024, question 1C on audit evidence. All right, any questions on that? Any contributions, any observations? So we could run to the next question. I think that was the only diet he tested something on audit evidence. Any questions, any observations? Okay, if we don't have, let's run to May 2024, question 2B and C, tested the concepts or chapter on audit evidence. So we have ABC PLC, and we have a statement of comprehensive income. Sorry, it's statement of financial position, I beg your pardon, where we have splitting of an asset register in form of cost, accumulated depreciation, and the net carrying amount. So the statement below is an extract of the PPE from the notes of the financial statement. So we have, I think, a fixed asset register here, the cost of the assets around land, PPE, and the total, land and building, property, plant, and equipment, and we also have the total. In terms of costs, we have, excuse me, we have the accumulated depreciation and impairment losses. We also have the net carrying amount. So these are the figures, and we have a statement that the above was the situation of the SFP of the company when it was signed at the board meeting. During further review to sign off the audit file, it was discovered that the classification of some of the assets as impaired was due to wrong classification, and the value had actually increased due to a new road network in the location. This affected the impairment losses for the year. The new value of the buildings affected and shown in the note above as available from market survey had actually grown to 8.5 million within the period under review. So we're required, B, discuss the necessary information to be included in the audit checklist based on the information above in relation to IAS 16, PPE, and IAS 36, impairment of assets, 7 marks. Number C, advice on the treatment of the issue raised with regard to the wrong classified assets, 3 marks. So we have a 10-mark question. Please confirm you can hear me and see my screen clearly. I think my network is going, the bars are going down. Please, if I'm glitching or I'm breaking, let me know so that maybe I can switch to another line. Okay, let me say thank you. I think you can hear me clearly. All right, thanks for that feedback. Okay, thank you, Jay. Okay, so we have this question before us, and it's focused on property, plant, and equipment and impairment. It's a classification, it's a classic integration of audit and financial reporting knowledge, which is common in chapter 8 kind of question, because we've looked at that. And you see the integration of the standards on IAS 16, PPE, and IAS 36. We looked at some of those things in the lectures around the transaction cycles of some of these assets and how to audit them. The audit checklist, talking about a form of audit procedure or documentation. So you need to know the accounting requirements to frame your audit steps. PPE is inherently a high-risk area due to its high value and complex accounting around depreciation, revaluation, impairment, and potential for fraud, where management could post ghost assets. So the question highlights issues in impairment and reversal, which are highly judgmental areas. So the practical application around the B part is theoretical, speaking to the checklist, but part C requires a specific practical journal entry, journal posting, and advice based on the scenario facts. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so your answer quality. Your answer quality is very imperative here. If you look at the solution, you will see that the solution for part C, you see that the solution for part C identifies the need for reversal, but is slightly simplistic or very simple regarding the million new value, and it needs more explicit justification on the accounting treatment. I'm sure the examiner kept it very simple to avoid ambiguities. I felt he should have explained more on this posting, but then it's very simple. So he wanted to make it crystal clear for candidates. Maybe some people provided ambiguities in the solution. His report said below performance, 70% performed below expectation. Okay, so let's look at what to and how to write this question briefly. For the B part, the audit checklist is a 7-mark question, and in writing, you need to provide a list of questions or statements of fact that an auditor would verify to ensure compliance with IAS 16 and IAS 36. And this must cover the major accounting aspects of PPE and impairment. So how do you write this? Use clear headings like you see the examiner did. Use clear headings to speak on IAS 16 checklist items and IAS 36 checklist items for both standards. So frame points are specific audit questions. So for example, has depreciation been calculated, or requirements around check compliance with the cost model, the revaluation model policies. And you need to ensure the points are distinct and not overlapping to maximize your marks. So very key. Then for the 2C, talking about the treatment of wrongly classified assets, what do you write? You need to identify the error. Identify the error first. State clearly that the original impairment was based on a wrong classification, making it an error that must be corrected or reversed. And 2, what to write? The journal entry. The journal entry. You need to provide the specific journal entry required to revise the impairment losses for land and building. And 3, what to write? The accounting treatment of new value, a million. You need to advise the million new value or new market value. You need to advise that it cannot be recognized until the company adopts the evaluation model and a formal revaluation is performed. So since the original error involved, your focus should be on correction. So how do you write that? Be direct. Be direct in writing and use accounting terminology. So the mark awards 1 mark per point. So make your 3 points distinct and clear for the second aspect question. So if you look at the solution, it's a brief write-up, and for a 10-mark question, the examiner did not go that elaborate, but I think there's a lot of quality in what he wrote. So general strategies when you read through the answer and you are practicing is the IAS and ISA reference, general strategies on answering and earning your marks. Always explicitly state the relevant accounting standards. So for this question, we have IAS 16, IAS 36, or the auditing standard, ISA 500 on audit evidence, when the question references them. So integrate it into your answer. And also cover the spectrum, talking about the area the question asks you to cover. So for part B, the checklist question, you need to cover the full life cycle of the assets from initial recognition, talking about the cost, and subsequent measurement, depreciation or evaluation, disposal on impairment. If you do this, it ensures you comprehensively covered and maximize your points. And the focus on the part C, the focus should be the marks coming from identifying the change, speaking to the error that was made, and the correction, the reversal journal. So as per the specific numbers in the financial statement test tract, you need to ensure that this reversal is performed based on what the examiner has provided. You need to avoid over-answering also a question. Like the million new value is a distraction, actually, in my opinion. So your advice must clearly state why it is treated differently from the reversal of the original error. So please go through the answer. It's very brief and short. If you look at the question, looks like a very long read, but then you're not required to do a lot. You just have to be concise and precise in providing your thoughts on that. So if you look at the marking guide also, is the B and the C part. So ignore the A part. The A part does not test audit evidence. So the B and the C part is 10 marks. And question B, or the 2B part, is the audit checklist, speaking to 7 marks, a whopping 7 marks. And the marking guide allows 1 mark for any 7 points related to IAS 16 and IAS 36. So try and aim to provide 4 to 5 points for IAS 16. And for IAS 36, provide like 3 to 4 points to ensure the 7 marks are secured. That's the strategy, generally our advice. So for the standard on IAS 16, your key audit checklist should focus on number 1, the initial cost. You should ask questions like, have all directly attributed costs, speaking to installation and testing, be capitalized? Has it been capitalized? And are revenue cost expensed? Something like that. Then for componentization of the assets, you need to ask questions around, have major components with different useful lives been accounted for, and also depreciation or depreciated separately. You also need to ask on the depreciation method. Is the method, the rate, the useful life consistent with prior years and reasonable for the asset use? So what method are they using? Is it straight line method, reducing balance, sum of the digit? These are questions you should ask. And also subsequent expenditure. On IAS 16, you need to ask, has expenditure been correctly classified as capital or revenue based on whether it has enhanced future economic benefits? Then another question around depreciation, you need to ask, have disposals been properly calculated around gain or loss and removed from both cost and accumulated depreciation accounts in the ledgers? So those are general questions you should ask or checklists to earn the 4 to 5 4 marks that was provided for IAS 16. And for excuse me, for IAS 36, you need to ask questions around the indicators. Has management identified and documented indicators of impairment, whether internal or external? Also the recoverable amount. Don't forget, has the recoverable amount, the higher of fair value less the cost of the disposal and value in use, been correctly calculated, speaking to recoverable amounts of impairment? Then the cash generating units, don't forget, you need to ask questions around where questions and thoughts around where applicable, has assets been grouped into appropriate cash generating units? Then for the impairment loss and reversal, you need to ask questions around the impairment loss or its reversal. Have they been correctly measured and allocated to the relevant assets or the income statements? So for the C part, the marking guide allows 1 mark for any 3 points. It's just 3 points for the C part and for the treatment advice. So your strategy should ensure is strategizing to earn those marks. Your points should cover the error, number 1, the correction, and the accounting principle for the new information. So in the reversal, which is number 1 in correcting the error, the team must treat the error correction for the prior recognition of impairment loss, as the loss was based on a wrong classification. So that's the first area to earn your mark. Then the second one is the journal entry. The entry required is to reverse the impairment loss that was wrongly recorded. So you need to debit PPE talking about land and building, and credit impairment losses, which is the P&L or evaluation surplus, depending on the original entry. You also need to credit P&L, which is most likely here as it was initially debited if you look at the solution. Then for the treatment of the new market value, the million new market value cannot be recorded simply because it exists. So it represents a potential revaluation gain which is permitted only if ABC Limited adopts the revaluation model based on IAS 16. And for the class of assets, the assets must remain at a corrected historical cost or depreciation rate. So it's quite a technical area if you have issues with property, plant, and equipment and revaluation, speaking to your SBR or your corporate reporting preparation. So I know some people may not attempt this question, but then I think it's easy to earn some marks if you understand some of the nitty-gritties. Well, good thing is that you have the choice to choose which one to answer, and you need to focus on your area of strength and avoid the area of weakness or areas you've not covered. Yes, please, Grace, your hands are up.
Please, good evening, sir.
Evening, nice to have you.
Yeah, please. Sir, I want to understand, whenever I can ask about on treatment of an issue, does it mean that we must state the journal entry and the accounting treatment or the ledger? Is that what they mean? Is it in all situations or is just in this case?
No, I think
I've seen that treatment several times.
In several questions. Yeah. So I think it's for this specific question. So you need to focus on the prompt. So I've seen this kind of question. I think we'll be looking at one or two questions after this like that. And it depends on his prompt. So this is a detailed checklist question. So you need to answer it in a way of, in the way you've described. You spoke about the checklist, you spoke about correcting the ledger. It all depends on what happened in the case. It's not a hard and fast rule. There's no stereotyped way of answering such a question. Just follow the prompts, and you need to practice with such a question so that you can see how the pattern the examiner asks it, so that you can be used to it. It's good to look at such questions and try to see the examiner's trajectory. So in answering your question succinctly, no, it depends on the question and the prompt that has been provided. Most of the times you may not need so much content to pick your marks seamlessly in such a question. It's just to know how and what to write very pragmatically. I hope that I shared some thoughts on that. Okay. All right. So that's it about this short question, this 10-mark question on obtaining evidence and how to perform some treatments on some accounts. All right. So any other question? I think there's another question that looks like it in November 2023, Beefy Fashions Limited. Okay, so let's run to the next question before we go on break. We have 10 more minutes to go on break. So let's look at the question quickly. November 2023, question 1C. We have BP Fashions Limited, and this company is a trading and expansion. Is expanding and is a trading company in the fashion industry. So over the years, the company has been audited by LMP Professional Services. The company is considering going to the stock market to raise funds through increase in its issue share capital for purpose of expansion into new markets. The summarized 2-year financial statements and the 9 months accounts of the company are given below. So we have 2019, the SCI, 2020 SCI, and 2021 9 months SCI, not full 12 months now. So we have earnings before interest and taxes, depreciation and amortization. So they have an EBITDA 2019 635 million. It grew to 762 million and also grew in 2021 for the 9 months to 877 million. All right. Then we have the ISFP matching at total assets 1.3 billion, total equity and liabilities 1.3 billion. And for the subsequent year 2020, 1.2 billion, equity and liabilities 1.725 billion. We also have 1.610 billion, 2.120 billion, and equity and liabilities 2.120 billion, all tallying. Okay, so we said, the narrative said it has become necessary, and as part of the Nigerian Stock Exchange Group Limited's requirement to appoint another firm of accountants to review the financial statements for some specific periods. Your firm, Stratcom Partners, have been approached to carry out the necessary review. So we required a number C part of that question. In view of the changes in inventory, the financial statements given above, between the last two periods, provide the substantive procedures that will be carried out to establish a reliable evidence of the change. So for between the last two periods, we had inventory, current asset, we have 525 and we have 625. Okay, so inventory moved from 525 to 625. So we had to perform substantive audit procedures that will carry out this to establish a reliable evidence on this change. All right. So in looking at these answers, the question requires us to provide 6 distinct substantive audit procedures to confirm the significant increase in inventory. So the focus is on the key audit assertions for inventory. So we need to obtain evidence on that. And I think the question is a direct test of substantive procedures for a high value asset. Inventory is always a significant area which has seen a significant increase in their books. And the context of a potential stock market listing raises the inherent risk of management manipulating asset values like inventory. Don't forget we spoke about that in the lectures. So to appear more profitable, that's what management do to manipulate these figures, or to appear more financially stable. And it justifies the auditor's high degree of professional skepticism and robust evidence gathering. So you see the answer provided is a list of procedures that correctly cover the critical inventory assertions around existence. You know, we spoke about it in the class. Existence first, valuation, and cutoff. These are the 3 areas. EVC, existence, valuation, and cutoff must be tested. So what do you write and how do you write such a question if you choose to answer this? You need to focus on the 3 main assertions. So existence talks about the physical presence of the inventory, and that is confirmed by physical counts, stock counts. We spoke about that. So in writing, you need to state this, and also confirmations. And for valuation, you need to ensure inventory is recorded at the lower of cost and net realizable value. We explicitly stated that in the lecture. So valuation speaks to ensuring inventory is recorded at lower of cost and net realizable value. So for example, net realizable value testing must be performed by the auditor. Cost checking, obsolescence review, check the invoices that were provided before GRN was made and all that. Then you also need to check cutoff. You need to confirm that transactions near the period end are recorded in the current accounting period. And we had a series of questions around if inventory came in 28, for example, of December, and invoice came in 5th of January. Which date should be used? And we had a debate on that. So the date of the GRN should be the date that the inventory is to be recorded. And if inventory came at the end, came maybe 5th of January, and the invoice came before the inventory, the date GRN was raised is when you should cut off your transaction classification. Very important. So that's what to write. And how do you write it? Provide a list of at least 6 separate distinct points to secure the full 6 marks. As the marking key awards 1 mark per point, you could see the 6 marks enumerated by the examiner. So start each point with an active verb like vouch. Use verbs like vouch, inspect, confirm, perform, review, stuff like that to answer your question. Then use the precise accounting and auditing terminology to answer such a question as you see the examiner has done in the solution provided. So generally, in earning or strategies you should be able to earn your marks with should be around providing distinct points by ensuring each numbered or bullet point addresses a unique audit action or assertion. So for example, separating observing count procedures from performing test counts will maximize marks. So you need to separate observing count procedures from performing test counts. And your focus should be on, when reviewing the inventory change, perform analytical procedures. So for example, compare gross profit percentage or inventory days ratio to check if the amount in million increase is reasonable given the rise in revenue and cost of sales. So you can see that inventory moved from 5, let me see the question again now, it moved from 525 to 625. So some of those ratios you could use to test and check why there was this movement or growth. So your focus should be around analytical procedures to confirm gross profit percentage and also inventory days. Those ratios will help you to ensure that that increase is reasonable given the rise in revenue and also cost of sales. And also your assertion procedure should be linked to these procedures you're performing. Always mentally link your procedure to the assertion it tests. So for example, vouching cost test valuation, confirmation or confirming external holdings test existence. This is very, very key in performing such procedures. So performance was poor, take note. And in answering the question or in picking your marks, the goal is to provide 6 substantive procedures, and each of those procedures are worth 1 mark. So let's look at the procedures. Let's do a recap before we go on break on some of these procedures so that we can understand it clearly. So number 1 is to attend or observe physical inventory count. Very important. And that is essential because you confirm the client's counting procedures are being followed, and providing evidence on the existence and completeness of the inventory by the auditor is very key. So that's number 1, substantive procedures. Attend or observe physical inventory count. Number 2, perform test counts. You do this by selecting items from the floor. You trace them to the final inventory sheets and vice versa to ensure quantities are accurately recorded. So at times we internal auditors, we do full counts, but the external auditors do more of sampling to avoid duplication of effort and to also save some time. So you can do that by performing test counts. Just trace 1 or 2 items and trace them to define inventory sheet and vice versa to ensure quantities are actually accurately recorded. Number 3, you need to vouch a sample of recorded inventory cost to support purchase invoices to ensure the cost figure used is accurate and in accordance with the company's cost flow method. Then number 4, you need to test inventory valuation by reviewing the subsequent selling prices of goods at year end and to determine the net realizable value. And you need to compare it to the cost and ensure compliance with IAS 2. Don't forget we spoke to that expressly in the lectures on the lower of cost and net realizable value. Then number 5, you need to review the numerical sequence and dates of GRN and goods dispatch note or the invoice. So take note of the sequence. I spoke to that earlier. I said immediately before and after the year end. So for example, December 31st, to ensure sales and purchases are recorded in the period cutoff. Any goods that come in before 31st December should be allowed based on the GRN if you are observing. Then anything after, if goods come after that, it must be cut off and taken to the next year. So please observe the dates on GRN and dates on either the delivery note or the invoices. Then number 6, confirm the existence and amount of inventory held at outside locations or different branches. So for example, like third-party warehouses and consignment, you need to confirm the existence of them by obtaining the direct written confirmation from the custodian if you cannot visit there physically. And I think another point you could add as a buffer, number 7, is to perform analytical procedures such as calculating and comparing the inventory turnover days. These ratios will help you look at that spike from that spike from 2020 to 2021. So that ratio would help you, and also the gross profit percentage to prior years to assess the overall reasonableness of the significant increase in millions, that inventory increase. So performing analytical procedure. So if you give these 7 points, the examiner will pick the best 6 and award you your marks on that, which is very good. Okay. Yeah, Grace, please go ahead. Your hands are up again. Yeah, please.
So why didn't they include talking about checking inventory obsolescence in this point listed? Is it not relevant here?
Yeah, it's relevant, but it's not needed. Why do I say it's relevant but it's not needed? Is because you are supposed to perform substantive procedures to establish the evidence of the movement in amount. So that movement in amount is like a confirmation. You are not trying to dissect or to check the kind of inventory that is there. You want to see primarily the reason why the inventory of the company moves from 525 to 625. Now, if you are going to validate something, maybe the examiner asks you to analyze inventory or dissect or examine inventory. But don't forget, his prompt says we should, in view of the changes in inventory. So the movement in amount is what is very important, not in the value or the content or the extent of inventory that we have on ground. We just want to see the movement and perform procedures to see why there was movement between 562 to 625. That's the essence. So I don't think obsolescence or obsolete inventory or expired inventory, it's a good point, and that's why the examiner did not give you that or give us that in this context. We want to see why inventory move as a result of value or amount in this context. I hope you're okay with some of those assertions. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. So please practice around this, and it's good to ask such a question. And you see, as you're answering a question, you need to ask these questions too. You're practicing. Why didn't the examiner use this? Then you go back and read. Why didn't the examiner provide these points? You see, it will help you think around what to do and what not to do under real exam condition. So don't just accept his answers or Pathfinder answers hook, line, and sinker. You need to approve further, ask questions, and that is why accountability sessions are good. If you have 2 partners you discuss with, you're gisting about this, and why didn't he provide this answer? The person will say, okay, I think this is why. So reading 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 is good in sharing some of these thoughts. And if you don't have that luxury of time or resource, please do it yourself. Pen down and write down as you're practicing. Why didn't he answer it this way? Why didn't he answer it that way? So that you'll be able to understand the questions and how it was answered. Okay, I think I've taken 5 minutes of our time from our break. Pardon me. We'll stop now. So let's come back 10:15. Oh, sorry, Flora's hand is up. Pardon me. Flora, before we go on break, please, let's hear Flora's thoughts. Flora, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
I wanted to ask, when the question said I think your firm, the last part, it said your firm something, your firm is, you said the firm's Stratcom partner has been approached to carry out. So is it necessary to start with, from, to, and date, the format of writing memo or something?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah. So if you are asked a memo question, it's going to presented like an internal memo. So memos are not mostly external because this is a partner that is outside the company. So a memo format may not suffice.
So can it be an external? Because this is my second time writing this exam, and I don't know why I keep failing, even though I answer correctly. Like this one that they are putting your firm, does it show that it's an external? Are you supposed to put that format of an external?
Yeah, so for the AAA paper, external memos are not really necessary except where explicitly commanded. But for internal
Okay.
question, yes, except if it's commanded to do a memo. But for internal correspondence within departments, you should do a memo. But this is to a client, so you are not asked for a memo. So I think a memo will waste your time under this condition.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. All right. You're welcome. Okay, so please let's come back 9:15. So